Hello there, wonderful people. We're so glad that you clicked on this video and you're wanting to get a chance to understand what in the world is the intimacy series, who in the world is Dan, who in the world is Dakini Leah. Well, I was just thinking that you are such an amazing person, and I feel so honored that you and I finally crossed paths because we knew each other on Facebook for like what, 10 years before I
Hmm.
finally met you in person last year in Boulder. And I was completely fascinated by you. You're kind and you're warm. You're so knowledgeable. And you have this amazing career that really helps people.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, and it has been an amazing journey. And to meet you, I think, gosh, you're right. It's probably been about 10 years when you reached out to me and we were talking about some things. And then we only met each other in person a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was at farmer's market in Boulder.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get to where you are today?
So Boulder, Colorado is actually integral in my journey of becoming a tantrika. And all that means is that I'm a student of sacred sexuality and how that influences my whole life. So I got started in 2012. I picked up this very austere Tantra tome and I couldn't understand head or tails. So I called the author and I said, "What are you trying to talk about here? Like, I really want this information because I've hit a ceiling in my bedroom and we have a good relationship, but it's kind of stale. And I just wanted more. I just knew that there was more to be had, more sizzle, more intimacy, more closeness, just something that was more, it makes my mouth water thinking about it. I just wanted something that was juicier and more nourishing. And I couldn't understand what he was writing. So he was very gracious with me. It's John Maxwell Taylor out of England. And he said, "Well, I'll just show you what I mean." And we did a meditation together over the phone. And that was exactly what I was looking for. It was connection, like that human spirit connection. It's deep and palpable. I could almost touch it. And my husband at the time, and we did some tantra lessons, and I was home. I I I never turned back. Now my that marriage didn't last because my husband, it was too much intimacy for him. It was too close. So the light was shining just way too bright. It was kind of blinding him, but there was no going back for me. And I got myself certified as a Tantra educator through the Ohono School of Tantra. And I've been teaching ever since. And I've helped well over 1,000 individuals and couples use sacred sexuality, not only for intimacy, but also for the healing of their human spirit and for their self development goals. Because sex energy is at the basis of everything we do. It's not just about intercourse. It's not just about relationships. It's about having that light of who you are turned on so that it shines in everything that you do. So that's how I
Beautiful.
got.
Beautiful.
Tell me your story, Dan.
Well, I met a woman over 20 years ago now who introduced me to Tantra. And that was the first time that I had ever had conversations about sex that weren't sophomoric in nature.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I remember making a statement saying, "Oh, I'm going to turn this into a career someday," not thinking that was really going to happen. I was an entrepreneur, and I had started some companies and was in the high tech industry. And then over the course of 10 years, I was learning more and more and more, being the engineer, because I want to know everything there is. I decided that I just didn't want to be in the corporate world anymore. I felt like
Yeah.
I was dying, I was smothering in the corporate world. So I
Mm.
burned my bridges and applied my engineering skills to learning about sex and applying it in a practical way for people around sex. And as you say, I've touched hundreds or thousands of people at this point in time, and I've made a big difference in people's lives. That's so much more fulfilling than writing a software package that works in human resources systems or something like that.
Right. Yeah. You
So
found your calling.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
And now you
absolutely.
call yourself the pleasure engineer.
Yes, I'm the pleasure engineer because that's what we do. And with my wife, which is not Leah, with my wife, we work together in a company called Pleasure Movement, which is all about moving pleasure into people's bodies and looking at pleasure in their lives in a way that is going to bring fulfillment and move them forward. So
Why is it important, would you say, to be able to experience pleasure in the body?
I think it's super important to feel pleasure in the body because we when we aren't, we I think get downtrodden and start getting into these ruts. And that's what I was. I was in the corporate world and I was just going into work. I was doing my job. I didn't like my job. I didn't like a lot of the people that I was working with. And I just kept going through it and I just was put on autopilot. Bringing
Right.
pleasure into my life has opened things up for me in a way that I had not expected, and it just has become an amazing life that I look for pleasure in everything that we do, and so it's been
Right.
amazing.
Yes, I think that is so important. I mean, it's the difference between going through life on autopilot, as you said, and being alive.
Yeah,
So it's so much more than just about intercourse. It's
yeah,
about being in the fullness of who you are. This is the whole purpose of becoming a human being. So we can
yeah,
step into what it means to be an authentic human being in the world, which is what we all crave and what we all need. So it's way more than just a luxury. I mean, this is the essential why am I here answer.
yeah.
What does it mean
And
to be?
what I've noticed for women is they have put their lives on hold for children, for their partners, for whatever it is, because they are naturally caring and nurturing people. And letting them start to learn that pleasure could be for them as well, especially culturally. We've got this myth that pleasure isn't for women, that women are supposed to be these servants of men and children and everything else. And when they start to discover and understand that no, pleasure can be for them as well,
Yeah.
then their lives just completely open up and it's just amazing.
Right? It sounds absurd. Like the modern woman, intellectually, we know, well, yeah, of course, I can have whatever a man has, but we haven't quite embodied it yet as a culture.
Yep.
So when we can participate in activities that help to really bring it alive in our bodies, it's a game changer. The intimacy series was something that Dan and I created because we saw that there was this huge need to circumnavigate this idea of how to create a deeper amount of intimacy and not just in it's not just for people who are already coupled, but for individuals to learn these skills that are the birthright of every human being, the intimacy skills, the intimacy skills that create this emotional intimacy as well as the physical intimacy, because it's all about being online with yourself first. That's always where it starts. So the first series is coming up. It's right around the corner. It's July 25th in Boulder, and we're going to be talking about unlearning sexual myths. Now, that's why it's important to unlearn sexual myths, is because whatever you believe falsely is getting in your way of the intimacy that you desire, that you need, that you deserve. And when we are operating on these false scripts, we're not really in a relationship. We're in a performance. It isn't real. So, and it can be amazing the crazy things that we believe. So, in our series, we're going to be talking about the main myths that our culture hands to us, and some of them are pretty surprising. But we'll also be talking about how to unlock those unconscious personal myths that you believe in. In fact, Dan and I were just talking before we started the video. I just discovered one this morning, this unconscious script that had been running in the back of my head. And because I know the skills that we'll be talking about in this workshop, I was able to identify it and to dispel it and to alchemize it into something that now is my truth. It kind of gives me goosebumps a little bit to think about, because it's so important to be in your truth. It's so important to be who you really are in the world. That's where closeness comes from. That's where connection comes from. That moment of connection that I had with John Maxwell Taylor over the phone in 2012. It comes from being authentic.
And one of the things I think that's so important about this is exactly what you're talking about is we basically get on these railroad tracks that are taking us into a certain direction when we've got this entire world that we can be able to explore. But these railroad tracks are the myths that we have created for ourselves in our lives. And they're not just sexual. There's many, many myths that are out there that we've adopted, whether from our culture, from our family, from our organized religions, whatever it might be. And so, if we can start to dispel those, for me, knowledge is power. So the more information that I can give to you, I'm not telling you what the right way to live your life is going to be, but if I can give you the information of what's possible and what's available, then you can make that choice, an informed, educated choice for yourself.
Right. It's really about being empowered.
Yep.
Well, we can't
Absolutely.
make those choices for ourselves if we don't know what they are.
Yep.
We have to educate ourselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where I work with women predominantly. That's what I open and explore for them is, how can they evolve into something that is different than what culturally they have been pigeonholed into.
Yeah. It's so powerful. Yeah. And not just for my partner, not just for my relationship, but for myself. And learn these skills for myself.
And as the
And
airlines say, put that mask on yourself before taking care of anybody else.
right. Put your own oxygen mask on first.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So some of these myths that we'll be talking about are pretty pervasive. Can we give some examples? I was just thinking that one of the myths that I run into a lot with the people that I'm working with is that intimacy and sexual experience should just be spontaneous. That we don't have to plan it. In fact, planning it would take all the sexiness out of it. So when a couple gets going in their busy lives, it stops happening, and then they wonder, okay, well, where did the sizzle go? Maybe I'm not supposed to be with this person. When in reality, they've just stopped scheduling that intimate time together because they believe, well, it'll just happen. We'll just be magically in love with each other and magically attracted, and it'll just happen. The reality is that learning how to schedule those times to go on a date and to get dressed up and to put on the perfume and to shave your legs and buy that new dress and to be sexy for your partner, it is wonderful. And not just for your partner, but also to take that time to step into that archetype of being the sexy seductress, to turn on that radiant light. That's for me.
Mhm.
That's that's what helps me to connect to who I am. So that's one of them is,
Yeah. Another one is sex is painful. A lot of
uh,
women, there was actually a friend of ours that was walking with my wife, and she's 23, something like that. And she was talking to my wife about, oh, sex has always hurt. It's always been painful. Like, no, it should not be painful. It should
not
not be hurting you unless you're into that kind of thing and you're doing it under a BDSM style. Um,
right.
just regular intercourse, penis and vagina intercourse should not be painful. Just touching your vulva or penetrating your vagina should not be painful. And there's ways that you can prevent that from happening, and those things that we can talk about as well. But that's a lot of the work that I do with the women that I work with is dealing with that painful sex and how do they get through that.
Right. They believe that a man should be, or their partner should be the one who turns their body on and should be the one who makes the decision about when penetration should begin. But when a woman can drop into her own body and take charge of her own pleasure, it's a completely different game. Sherry Winston is one of my favorite sexuality educators, says that penetration should be exquisite. What a great word.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, and another myth that men can't wait is so not true. If
Yep.
you
They're
wait
not going to
until
die.
you're not gonna die. You're not torturing him. He's fine.
Yep. Yep. And it doesn't matter, even if you are there, you're in bed, and he's ready to penetrate you, and you decide you don't want to, you should be able to say no.
Yeah, you
He
can say
he's
no
right. He's not gonna, and he may get frustrated, but he can go and masturbate off in the corner if he needs to.
if he
It's
needs to. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, men do not want a passive woman who just says yes to everything and lays there like a dead fish. They want a goddess.
yeah,
They crave the goddess. We can't be the goddess until we know who we are, until we stand in our sovereignty. And wow, that's it. It's just a whole other world when we as women learn to do this. It's
yep.
powerful. Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the other classes that we have coming up because this is a whole series that we have. The first one, which is going to be July 25th, is called "Pleasure Reclaimed: Unlearning Sexual Myths and Embracing Your Truth." So that's one that we were just talking about. Then August 22nd, we've got something called "Keeping the Flame: Erotic Rebirth in the Long-Term Love." And so this is going to be about creating desire in long-term relationships. Part of the problem with long-term relationships is in the beginning stages, it's great. The honeymoon phase is going on and we're all excited, and that spark is there, that energy is there. Talk about the spontaneous sex, that we don't have to schedule, that happens. But over the course of time, that dissipates. So how do we keep that spark alive and moving in long-term relationships?
Yes, it is a skill. That's the good news. It can be learned.
Yep.
Then September 26th, we talk about erotic dialogue, speaking the language of love, lust, and truth, learning how to talk about sex in a way that's comfortable and in a way that's truly communicative and clear. That's a huge one.
Absolutely. The biggest problem that I see in women who come to see me is, first of all, they don't even know what they want. So all these people, there's a whole community out there on the consent world, and there's like, well, you can't do anything unless you're hell yes. Well, most of the women, in fact, 99.9% of the women that I work with, they don't even know what they want to be able to consent to something. So it's one of the things that I help them to discover is what is available, what is possible for them that they could then begin to start asking for.
And how do they talk about it?
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that.
And then we've
Then
got the art of touch, waking her body through presence. And this is the area that I excel. This is where this is the predominant work that I do. So we will talk about the art of touch and we will actually have a live demonstration. And so you can see what it is that we were doing. And by the way, all of these classes, there may be nudity, there may not be nudity. There's certainly going to be, these adult level conversations. This class will absolutely have nudity. So you will see a nude woman who is receiving my touch on that. This is a
yeah,
way to learn.
this is the one that every woman wants her guy to go to. That's because this is one of the number one complaints that I get too is that the women tell me that men don't know how to touch them. But
Yep.
also women don't know how to guide their man on how to touch them. Or it seems like it's not sexy or that somehow he should just magically know. So we're going to bust all that in that class and reveal the skill and the art of giving and receiving touch on the female body there.
Yep. Absolutely.
Then in November, we go to the Yoni Reborn, pleasure, healing, and power, especially, well, we talked about this being after birth for younger couples, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. The yoni changes as a woman gets older, and especially if she's had a child or if she's dealing with menopause, perimenopause, and perimenopause, by the way, can start in your mid 30s for some women if you're noticing changes in your yoni. So we'll talk all about that and how to be respectful about to yoni for them.
Yep. And what the different changes are and how you can prevent some of the things that are coming up. Uh, and what is normal? Like one of the myths is that we talk about is using lube. Lube is your friend. The
Lube
myth
is your
is that, yeah, the myth is that, well, if she's aroused, she will be wet enough and we don't need lube. And that may be true for some women, but not the majority of women. And yes, they can get aroused when they or get wet when they get aroused, but even if they get wet, lube is your friend. So we will talk about the different kinds of lubes that are out there, what is more beneficial, what is less beneficial, and what to look for, and all those kinds of things.
yeah, that's going to be chock full of good information. And then December 5th, we wrap it all up with the alchemy of love, merging body, heart, and soul in sacred union. Basically, putting it all together. What have you learned?
Yep.
You don't you don't have to attend all the workshops. You can pick and choose and grab the ones that are calling to you most. But we 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 have designed all of them. I like the word that you use, the transformative arc. We've designed them all to create this powerful set of tools so that you can really make big changes in who you are and the way you relate to others.
Absolutely. And yeah, I'm super excited to be doing this with Leah. It's been a while since I've actually taught some courses. So, a lot of my work had migrated from teaching courses to doing more private coaching. And
Mhm.
this is going to be fun because there's only so much time in the day that I can work with women. So, I want to be able to get out there and have a larger impact. And I think that this series is going to be able to do that.
This is so going to be fun, and I can't wait. And I think it's going to be interesting to meet a community of like minded people, a community of people who are also interested in these subjects. That's wonderful. I mean, who couldn't use more friends? But we have something to offer people, don't we?
Oh,
What's going on
yes.
here? We have a deadline coming up.
Before the first class is coming up, if you register by July 20th, so then and use the code MYTH, you'll get some added bonuses. First of all, you'll get a 20% discount off of the entire curriculum that we're offering, but you got to register by this Saturday. So the end of Saturday, the end of day Saturday, the 19th of July. And then you will also get two free coaching sessions. So 30 minutes from Leah and 30 minutes from myself. Yeah.
Yeah, these are beautiful bonuses. And after these coaching sessions, you're going to walk away with practical skills that you can apply right away to your intimate life. You'll notice changes right away.
Yep. And you can use these before the classes so that you can get a head start on where you want to be in that class.
Oh,
Any
quit watching
less?
that and go sign up for the series.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, everybody. Well, hopefully we'll see you soon.
All righty. Bye bye, everyone.